Welcome to our special edition of our Peace Through Strength podcast, brought to you by the American Security Council Foundation. I'm your host, Joy Votrobek, and today is a special edition because it is Constitution Day. The U.S. Constitution was signed on September 17th, 1787. Since the recent debates in the upcoming U.S. presidential elections, a lot of people have seemed to express concern over losing freedoms to one party or another. The truth is very important, so in honor of Constitution Day, let's look at how difficult it is to amend the Constitution. And with me to do this is our very own American History Live program manager, Ms. Charla Frederick. Thank you, Charla.
Thank you, Joy, for having me today.
Charla has a lot of knowledge on the Constitution, as she can tell us from her background.
Yes, I have a degree in social science education, and I am, as Joy mentioned, I'm program manager of American History Live, where we bring American history to life with animated historical figures. I have years of teaching experience in the classroom and teaching American government to juniors and seniors in high school, as well as American history.
Thank you, Charla. It's a great program, so you got to check that out. AmericanHistoryLive.org.
Yes.
So first, let's start with the fact that presidential elections are important, but so are representatives and senators, because amendments must be approved by Congress. The U.S. president does not have a role in the amendment process, and joint resolution does not go to the White House for approval. So Charla, can you speak a little briefly on, first of all, how short our Constitution is compared to others?
Well, a lot of people aren't aware. We have the oldest continual used Constitution in the world today, and it is also the shortest written Constitution in the world, with a total of 7,591 words. That's included the 27 added amendments. If you look at the Constitution as written in 1787, the total word count was 4,543.
And then can you also speak to how difficult this amendment process is?
Absolutely. So I have my pocket Constitution right here with us. Very important that everyone should have a copy of the United States Constitution. And I'm going to read directly from Article 5 of the Constitution, where it describes the amendment process. The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem necessary, shall propose amendments to the Constitution, or on an application of state legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall conduct a convention for proposing amendments. Once an amendment to the Constitution has been proposed, almost exclusively by the United States House of Representatives and U.S. Senate, it is sent to the states to be ratified. And when ratification by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, or by constitutional conventions in 3/4 thereof, as one mode of ratification may be proposed by Congress. So 2/3 of the United States House of Representatives, 2/3 of the U.S. Senators must vote for the amendment, and then it is sent for ratification. 3/4 of state legislatures, which currently with the 50 United States would mean 38 states must approve by majority vote of each state legislature that constitutional amendment before it becomes a part of the United States Constitution.
So it takes quite a bit.
Yes. And as stated before, we only have 27 amendments in our over 200 years with this Constitution. And remember that the first 10, of course, which would be the Bill of Rights, were voted on as a package by state legislatures. So it's only been 17 since the Bill of Rights.
And you also mentioned in there a constitutional convention, which I don't believe we've ever had a...
We have not had a traditional constitutional convention, although we have had a Constitutional Convention of States for a constitutional amendment that we will talk about in just a few minutes, a very radical constitutional amendment.
Yes, I was just going to get to that. So we have only had one of our constitutional amendments repealed. That was the 18th, and it was the prohibition of liquor, which didn't go over very well. And was eventually repealed by the 21st Amendment.
That's right. So this was the only constitutional amendment to be repealed, or that repealed another amendment. The constitutional amendments have changed the United States Constitution, but to get rid of a constitutional amendment, you would have to repeal it, as happened with the 21st Amendment repealing prohibition.
So you don't just get rid of an amendment, you have to repeal it.
No, and remember, 2/3 of the Senate and House, and then 3/4 of state legislatures are constitutional conventions. So it's not an easy process to amend the Constitution or to repeal it.
Thank you. So now going back to the fact that the president doesn't have a role in the amendment process, what powers does the president have and how are they checked?
So the president, if you go again to your Constitution, the constitutional role of the president is listed in Article 2 of the Constitution. And it's not just the president, it's the entire executive branch. As I hope we all remember from our high school government classes, the executive branch enforces the law. So Congress is tasked with making those laws. The president and his bureaucracy, the bureaucracy is under the executive branch, actually enforce those laws. Now, the president does have a special role to play in those laws, and that is executive orders. An executive order is supposed to be a clarification of existing law. I know that there's a lot of confusion among Americans as far as how much power the president has to change policy. A presidential executive order can only be used to clarify an existing law. Now, we have in the past 200 some odd years given more and more power to the president, and we have given more leeway with those executive orders, but the president cannot just create a random law that has no basis in law that's already existed. So those executive orders are a clarification of the law. And of course, the president can go to Congress and ask Congress, let's pass this bill. Often, a lot of laws are proposed by the president, him or herself, but it comes down to Congress must pass those laws. And that's part of that separation of power that we have. We have 3 branches of government. Each branch has its own job. Congress, the legislative branch, makes the laws. Executive branch enforces the laws. And the courts, including the Supreme Court, but all lower courts as well, interpret those laws. And of course, the president, the other major role of our president is commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So our president has the ability to send troops and conduct military operations, but there are laws that prevent him from using that power in a way that would be harmful to the United States and national security.
Because Congress has to actually declare war.
Yes, although, reminder, we have not declared war as a country since World War II. But Congress does equip the military. What I mean by that is Congress creates the budgets and have to approve the budgets for the military. And Congress can, and since Vietnam particularly, are required to approve military action after a certain period of time.
Thank you for that clarification. And so we've discussed the federal level, but the states have their own constitution as well.
Yes. Each state in the United States, all 50, have their own constitutions. And I do want, as we talk about the concern that rights will be limited with any presidential election. Remember that your state constitution is important as well. Mm-hmm. Most state constitutions solidify the rights listed in the Bill of Rights. I know we here in Florida have a Declaration of Rights that states specifically reinforce freedom of speech, freedom of religion, things like that. So remember that not only does your United States Constitution matter, your state constitution is important as well, and it provides backing for your rights.
So it is important that we get out there and vote on the federal level and the state level and the local level.
Absolutely. You know, I think that we get so focused on the presidential election, mm-hmm. where we're not even directly voting for the president, right. Of course. We're voting for our state's electors. Technically, our presidential elections are state elections. You are voting for your state electors. But remember, your day-to-day life in a lot of ways, has more impact by your local elections. You know what your speed limit is on your road, where your children attend school, what rules there are for starting a business, buying a home. All of those are created at the state and local levels.
Thank you very much, Charla. I appreciate that. Yes. And thank you to our listeners. I hope there was some good clarification for today. And if you're like me, you probably have not memorized all the articles and amendments. So I like to have a pocket constitution with me. And we have both one in Spanish and one in English. And if you sign up for our newsletter at www.ascf.us, we will send you a free pocket constitution. So please do that today. Check out our website. Also subscribe, share, and comment on this video on our YouTube and Rumble channels at American Security Council Foundation. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, and Substack. Thank you again. Thank you, Charla.
Thank you.